Hello and welcome to this next in the series of lockdown rowing webinars with Pangbourne College. Today I'm joined by Georgia Francis, the college's most successful female oarswoman, and we're going to be talking and discussing her pathway from being a junior rower at Pangbourne right up to being a member of the senior team. Her particular highlights, I imagine, were her first international selection for the Coupe de la Jeunesse, then on to the Youth Olympics, then into the under-23 team, and then into the main senior women's team. And in particular, Georgia's finest moment was a silver medal at the under-23 World Championships in the women's 8. So let's meet her and see what she has to say. So good morning, Georgia.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, surviving COVID as per usual. As the daily comes.
And have you been, because you're in London?
Yes.
So
in my flat in London.
And I know you've been doing a fair bit of cycling, going out, seeing the sights.
Yes, definitely. Although not able to get out on the river, definitely able to see the sights on two wheels, which has always been good.
And what's it like at the moment, cycling around what's normally quite a dangerous place to spend your time on two wheels?
Yeah. It's been, I have to say, I'm not sure in sunny Berkshire, but London has been stunning with the usual tourist sites, really, really calm, and roads with barely on it, which is a sort of unusual scene, a bit alien, if I'm honest. So it's been nice to sort of crack out some really good miles in the sunshine as well. Who knew that could come, in this lovely little tiny island. But it's been really good just to explore and see the sites I haven't really seen properly since living here. So it's been good.
Yeah, good. So very kindly, you've said that you would today have a little webinar chat with me on the topics of moving from school rowing to the senior international team. And I'm not sure, other people may have said this to you in the past, but it occurred to me that you are Pangbourne College's most successful ever female rower.
Yay! It's a nice ring to it.
So let's start with your time, probably towards the end of Pangbourne, when you finally made or I say you made, not finally, but you made a selection for the GB team. Obviously had a fantastic team manager at your first event. So tell us a little bit about what you can do with that.
So so I started rowing like most of all rowers at Pangbourne, on the little dinky part of the river, bunged out in a single scull and hoping for dear life that I'd stay afloat, if I'm honest. I was exceptionally lucky to have 3 other girls that I row with who I got on extremely well with. How they were all older than me, which was slightly difficult in that time, but also made it very entertaining, to say the least, because I got to hear all sorts of gossip around school and, the usual drill. Yeah. But when I really got the bug for it after National Schools Regatta, which was actually in Nottingham, now it's at Dorney for everyone, but I started trialling in 2011, and I had Richard as a head coach. And I moved into my upper 6th year, and I've got a funny birthday, so for those who want to trial, normally it goes from January to January, but I'm an August baby, so I fell in this weird thing. So I was actually too old to be a junior rower, but I was in the mix of under-23s. And because like any good parent would tell you, focus on your A-levels and everything. So I did that, and I didn't trial for under-23s in my final year. However, I did trial for the Youth Olympic Festival, which was in January 2013, and it was very hard testing, to say the least. It took up my entire Christmas holiday, but in my final year at school, I was head of chief of Illawarra, so I had duties of that, bundling A-levels and mocks, but I got the selection to go to the Youth Olympic Festival in Australia for a month, and honestly, I can't even tell you how amazing it was. The best holiday I think I've ever had, is with some racing at the end of it. It was just incredible, and I was unbelievably lucky to get in and to go. So that's definitely one of the highlights of my junior starting. And obviously, being at a Youth Olympic Festival, the whole British rowing try to guide you to go to move on for the senior Olympic selection going forward. So
there are very few people who actually get to go to. It's not like a junior team for the coup.
No, exactly. So there were 9 of us in total who went to the event. Not total. Sorry, 9 women, 9 men, and that also incorporated in rowing we have lightweight rowing, which for men and women which have different weights. So those 2 women, 2 men on the lightweight side as well, all combined into that 18 total. And we had some lovely coaches who came out with us who taught me the right and wrongs very, very quickly of how to, given Pangbourne is a nice, lovely environment to be in. This exposed me to all the sort of more grown-up elements of what I had to do to sort of be the best.
Can we just go back, because we've missed your time at the Coop?
So I didn't want to dwell on that too much. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was more. Yeah, that's fine. I can go on Coop. Yeah. Do you want to go back?
Let's just have a little bit about the time you got selected. First GB selection.
Okay, so my first GB selection. So that year was immensely busy and very exciting. So I'd previously, in 2010, I was a hockey player before, so I imagine a lot of you who are listening to this are either in other sports. And I know Pangbourne really encourage you to do lots of sports. Trust me, I had my battles with the director of sport whether I wanted to do both. I'm sure many of people are doing it now. But I snapped my ACL and tore my MCL in hockey. And I honestly had nothing to really fall back on. And thankfully, I had rowing. I'm sitting down and I look like a little stump, but I am actually nearly 6 foot. So I'm all the leg. I'm not very much body. So when Richard approached me to sort of suggest trialling, I didn't really know what to do. I was like, wow, this is an amazing opportunity, and hopped an ergo, and it actually went okay. So
Georgia, tell me about the first GB selection you had, which was for the Coupe de la Jeunesse. You were still at Pangbourne, I think, in the lower 6th. What was that actually like when you found out you were going to the event itself?
So going to Coupe de Jeunesse was an absolute buzz. My first GB rowing lycra, and all the kit and all the excitement is honestly, kit day is the best day. And finding out that you and a lot of the friends that you've made during the process are all going together to race abroad is honestly so, I can't even describe it. It's so exciting. And it's a real, I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but it's really honourable to wear your country's best on you. It's something, you very rarely get to experience. And it just feels really, really good wearing something that you've earned, you spent so much of time and effort, and it's all yours because you've worked that hard. So it was just incredible, and I got to come away with a couple of medals as well, which was fantastic. So that was incredible feeling.
And so that then became the springboard for the Youth Olympics the following year, which you've already mentioned. And then if we can move on, what came next? Because you went to the Under-23 World Championships 3 times.
Yes.
Silver medal in the 8.
Yes.
So presumably that was the high point.
That was the high point. Yeah, So So in 2014, I went to the Under-23s in Varese and was a sweeper, and got it very excitingly, won a silver medal in the women's 8, which was fantastic, and had immense joy of that, being on the podium. My first year Under-23, still in that range, was still very much a baby in the whole process. And 2014 was really good for me. Loads of PBs on the ergo, on the water, and was all moving really, really swiftly. In that year, I also took a gap year because after Youth Olympics, A-levels, and Chief of Illawarra, as I'm sure lots of people are, I was just so tired, if I'm totally honest, and I couldn't have gone to university. I would have not been in the right mindset. So I just took a year off just to have a bit of breathing space. Which worked really well for me. I rowed out of Imperial College London, which is still my boat club today. Although I didn't go to the university, they offered a non-student program for like a high performance centre. There are a couple of them around the UK. More than a couple. There are a fair few around the UK. But I approached them. One of my previous crew members actually told me to go there instead of another high performance centre, and I couldn't be more thankful for her for telling me that. Then the next year, so that was 2014, that was very exciting. And then 2015, I actually moved to sculling, which was a big change, to say the least. I can tell you now, and I'm sure Richard can tell you, I was not a very good sculler, or was learning the ropes very quickly at Pangbourne, and had a lot of development technically and all sorts to do. So this was a big move. It was mainly decided because the World Championships were in Plovdiv, Bulgaria in 2015, and there were very, very few women scullers in the under-23. So the head coach, called Peter Shepherd, who I'm sure some of you might meet one day. He's lovely when he wants to be. No, he's lovely. Always lovely, exactly. He suggested that I did quite well in the first trial in 2015, and whether I'd be up for sculling at that championships. And honestly, I thought rating above 28 in my single or any form of boat in a scull with 2 oars in my hand was impossible. But that year, having gone from, I can't express, pretty much zero sculling or very little sculling other than doing trials, then doing the World Championships in the double scull, and coming 4th overall, which was incredible. And I never thought I could do that. Although it wasn't a medal position, I was the strongest I think I've ever been. Well, one of the strongest moments I've ever been in my rowing career. There's pictures of me now that I never thought I'd ever look like that again.
And presumably we've rather glossed over the selection process is not that dissimilar to the junior trials system. So
I should have brought that up. So yes, the senior selection is very similar to the junior selection, very, very similar, if not the same, if I'm honest. In the terms of, we equally have as a junior, there's a November trial, which consists of a 2-kilometre ergo and a 5-kilometre water test. And then equally, there's a invitation to the December trial, which is hosted at the main hub at Caversham, which can honestly, each year it changes. So I don't want to sort of settle on one thing that they do. It changes. And then in January, you have similar to junior, you have a erg test to complete, and then in February, another 5-kilometre water trial. March, there's a 2-kilometre test on the ergo, and then April is the final trial, similar to exactly the same as the junior. I think it runs 2 weeks apart from each other, and then we go on to the racing that everyone as juniors and everything races. So it's all, and it happens. That is the same every single year, as likewise with the juniors. So it's all.
And so talk just briefly about how you balance rowing and training for the club alongside your selection commitments.
Yeah. So if those who are looking to join a club that consists of high performance, as well as your own high performance training, it is hard, but the club is actually very understanding of it and will probably work around your extra training or just slot in training, so you're always training with people, with your friends. They try not to separate you. They want you to perform. So usually on Saturday and weekends, I'll be my single against men's eights, which would add hilarious entertainment for all, or anything. So they try and keep it fun and quite spicy at times. Particularly, I run the tideway, so it can be quite lumpy at times. But it's all just being stubborn with yourself, and you've got to think, what is the best thing for me, and how. Although you want to do everything, and obviously with your fellow friends, they don't have the same position as you. They want to do, they can go out and do other things when you've got to rest up and you've got to relax. So it's sort of just, it's weighing the two up. It is a knack, and unfortunately, it's one of those things you have to learn on the job. But you just have to just trust yourself through it. That's what I'd say.
It's almost the commitment you show on the water and in training. You have to show a similar level of commitment to whatever you're doing off the water to make sure that your training is properly effective.
Completely. I mean, I know some of people might hear this endlessly, but honestly, recovery is another type of training. Resting and recovery, lots of water. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can definitely go on a night out and have a best time and, you know, have a pizza, have a curry, whatever you want. But it's all balance, and it really is. And I know a lot of coaches will say, you know, will point the finger and say, like, no, you can't do this. Like, it's so, when you're a teenager or young, in your early 20s, you want to do what your friends are doing. So you have to, like, you totally let your hair down every now and then. But it's all just, you have to remember, I would know that if I went out on a Saturday, I'd have to be on form on Monday morning for training. So I had to make sure Sunday was regroup, re-get back on, and just make sure I was rested and whatever that took to be ready to go on Monday morning. So it's just remembering what you've got, just thinking ahead and just thinking, okay, if I do this, what are the consequences later on? And so on, which I know is really boring when you're that age. You don't want to do that, but you have to sort of think, I've got to cover my back and be my body. This is your machine, has to work, you know, like a car or anything. It has to be on point and fueled up to its capability.
In many ways, it's a job, isn't it?
It's a job, yes. It is.
That you're going to perform for your employer, if that happens to be.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So let's move on. We're not blessed with lots of time. You had 3 lots of under-23 World Championships, and then moved into the senior team. So what was that like, and how was that different, would you say?
So in 2016, for that championship, I equally sculled again, and that year I was very excitingly invited to Olympic trials for Rio de Janeiro that year, which was amazing. And I was aiming, the women's quad hadn't yet qualified at that point for the Olympic Games, so I was in contention to be in the quad. This is what the selection was for. So that was really, really, really exciting for me. And given I was still quite young, I thought this was, you know, I went it full, anything I could, everything I could. I missed out by 0.4 of a second, as I will never ever forget. But it was the hardest racing, but the best racing. Like, you have to look back and go, what was your best racing? Even the races I haven't won, I've had some really, really good races that I've worked hard. You feel like you've worked really hard, in a good way, not just sort of in a knackering way. And then after, so having gone, we had a long season that year in 2016 because we ran right through to the end of August. It was a long season. So, and then after that, I got a letter in the post, which I still have somewhere in my drawer, with an invitation to join the senior. So once the letter had been sort of digested and everything, on September, the first week in September, I went through Caversham doors as a member of the senior team, which was just incredible. Rocked up in sort of, you know, wasn't sure what to expect, other than I knew a lot of training was going to happen in that first week. And I knew vaguely what to expect, but nothing like what you can ever imagine. There is immense support that they have there. If you have any problems, there's a doctor, there's physios, there's biomechanics, there's endless things there. So it's all really exciting. And the fact that they all want you to go, everyone is wanting you to go as fast as you possibly can, which is incredible. But then fundamentally, you have to go as fast as you possibly can as well, every day, day in, day out. And I never thought my body could do 3 sessions a day. Sometimes we do 42k on the water, or 42k in total with water and ergos. And then someone tells you they've got a weight session afterwards, after that. So you learn new levels of coping mechanisms and tiredness. So you learn an awful lot by yourself. But the family that I've now got from this whole process, I can't even express. Are friends that I will have for life, and people in my life that I know will always be there at a drop of a call. So it's unlike any sport where I've done hockey, I've done, you name it, I've done that sport, I promise you. I'm one of the sportiest people that my family will back me up, I'm sure. But I was never a musician, I was never into drama or anything. I've always been that sporty one. Yeah. And this is the only sport that I've ever really found true family friends or friends from. So this, when you train that hard with someone or people, you just have this really weird but amazing bond with people. So rowing, when I did the first year, I did the double scull with of the senior championships with Alice Bart's my doubles partner. My back was in all sorts of pieces from training that year. It was a very long but good year, and just tough. And then going for the team, so day in, day out training. I don't want to bore people with it, but it was just long, just a lot of hard work, learning new ways to be on my game. It sort of high. Was driving in from London every day because I was still finishing at the start of it. Was still finishing off university, my dissertation, etc. But then I stayed in London because it's my home. It's where that's kind of where I settled, and it's only about 40 minutes in the car, so it's fine. And then in the end of 2018, very sadly, my back just really wasn't happy, and I had because I grew fast when I was little, my hips have having problems as well. So unfortunately, I had to sort of take a step back from the senior team and train back at Imperial College, my club, and just had to kind of work at a different pace and a different mode. And then back's now is good. I just have to keep my hips happy because I've got the capsulitis. Just means that when my hips get really tight, they get very aggravated, and then that means my back's sore. But cycling is good. Cycling is happy. We're not loading it up too badly, which is good. So that's happy days.
So tell us about let's say your most memorable race.
Oh, my most memorable race. I actually have two. I have two most memorable races. The first one is Evesham Regatta in 2012. I will never, ever, ever forget it. Evesham Regatta is probably about, 600 metres long, and you have a staggered start. Yeah. And it was the most cutthroat race of my life. It was just the most, I think she was from Maidenhead, this girl. And it was the most savage race I've ever done. I remember it in my single scull. I will never, ever remember it, ever forget it, sorry. And it was just incredible.
Did you win?
Sorry?
Did you win?
I won. I know. I can't believe it. But I won. Thank God. And I won a hip flask, which I think my dad stole from me very soon after that race. I think to manage my mother's screaming. So again, all coping mechanisms, which I'm sure everyone will find throughout. And my second favourite race, which sounds bizarre, but it was actually a speed order test, and it was in the women's quad. For 2017, this was when I was on the verge of being in the quad, and I just felt really fit and really strong, and we'd gone the fastest the quad had ever gone in that race. But the whole time, I just felt like I was working really, really well. My team was strong, and we ended up coming up top of the list. But that was, aside from that, it just felt really good, just like hurting all the right areas, which sounds really weird, I can imagine. But the whole race, we were racing the men's lightweight double, and we beat them, and it was just incredible. So I know it's not an official race, but still.
That's where there's a lot of talk about when you find, it's wrongly, I think, called when you find your zone. But I think when everything clicks, there are just some days, you probably find it now on your bike, there are some days where every movement, however hard you push, it still feels relatively effortless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
clicks together.
Totally.
If we could
moving in the right ways.
If you could bottle that, you'd make an awful lot of money, because that's what everyone's searching for, isn't it?
It's what everyone's looking for on a daily basis, but I can't even express. Like, I know everyone talks about it, but when you get that connection it sounds so boring and so cheesy, but when you get that connection in the water and you hook and you can squeeze, it is just the most amazing feeling, because you go in your head, I'm doing it, and you just have the best time. Which I know sounds really daft, but when you're in the right position, your body's there, and you can really work. It feels really good. And particularly if you're in a crew, I think in a single it's quite hard because you're by yourself and it's a bit more grunty. But when you're in a double or a quad or 4 or 8, whatever, you can really just enjoy the flow underneath you, really feel the boat and rowing's all about feeling, rather than, I think rowing's about all the senses working together and really feeling what's underneath you. And I can't even express. It's like when you're going downhill on a bike really, really fast and you're in the street. I think that feeling of you don't know what's going to happen. It's sort of like that in a rowing boat. You just.
I think that for most people watching this, they may yet, or they may not yet have experienced that. They may think, yeah, I know sort of what she's talking about, but then in maybe the months or years to come, I hope they'll look back on this particular moment in the clip and say, I now know what she was talking about.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sure Richard mentioned this before, but in addition to Richard, Phil Tinsley is my coach, and he will tell you how much he enjoyed coaching me. It took me years to have that feeling. So I just stress to people that it's not something that can come in a week, a month, a year. It does take time, but it's also something that you get in weeks, months, years, whatever. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to really get hold of. And rowing is all, if you don't put enough work in, you don't get enough out of it fundamentally, which I know is the brutal answer, but all that I stress is just enjoy it. I mean, like with GB rowing, it is hard work. It's really, really hard work, but it's so good when you, as I said before, you make amazing friends and family that you'll never get in a sport. But feeling, which I know for some girls or women, we shouldn't call you girls, women, is that it's really good to be strong. It's really good to feel strong. And I know a lot of you are like, oh, I've got I've got kangaroo legs. Like my legs are so much stronger than I've got pencil arms. It's horrendous. And I've got no body. I'm a little stump. I'm literally, you can see how low the counter is compared to my shoulders. And I'm on a bench right now, so I'm not very low. But it's really good to feel strong and just really work your body well. And it feels fantastic when you can see, as I'm sure you've had this on endless videos of people talking, but when you can see what your body can really do, it is utterly insane what your body can do and how hard you can push it. Because I've seen my body do things I never ever thought I could do. And you can work. I mean, when you're at school, you're just trying to think about work the whole time. But when you've got rowing, it's such a relief just to kind of relax a bit. But I love it.
Now, I've got 2 more questions. We're almost out of time.
Okay. I'll be quick.
Planning for life post rowing, or GB rowing particularly. You're now at Fulham Reach Boat Club.
Yes. So
on that.
So having unravelled out of GB rowing, I sort of panicked and sort of thought, oh, what can I do now? And I imagine a lot of people are going, oh, I don't know what to do with my life. And if I'm totally honest, I'm still transitioning. So I coach currently at Fulham Reach Boat Club, which is next to Hammersmith Bridge. And I started there just when I was in the team. I did some part-time work there just to kind of get a bit more cash under my belt and just meet some people and just to kind of keep my network up. But having with the back issues and having just a step back, I'm now the head coach of the adult program, the members program there.
Great.
Really good. It's just, again, it's taking a rowing and put there. This is it's not a long-term job for me, but it's been really good just to kind of I'm in rowing. I still love it. I still go sculling. I did Sculler's Head in December, and unfortunately haven't done anything since because we had the weather and now we've got coronavirus, so it's going really well. But I think just don't rush. If you are in rowing and you have done it, or if you are at an international level, just take your time. Don't rush going into normal life just yet. Really go steady, because you find that your mindset is very different to the rest of the world because you are in this bubble, and you have to kind of gently go out of the bubble before rushing into real life. Because if you go into real life, you will realize that you kind of go, whoa, what was I doing almost? You kind of get so absorbed. So it's just taking baby steps out rather than rushing. So I say is just, if anyone tells you don't to go find a job now, just find, even if it's a coffee job or something, just something really steady Eddie, just start with that, and then there's all the time in the world to find the job that you want to do. So
right. Great. And finally, give us your top 3 tips. The majority of people, I guess, watching this will be junior rowers. So if you've got some advice for rowers who are pursuing GB trials ambition, what do you think your 3 best pieces of advice you could give would be?
So I would say stretch. Make sure you stay mobile, because when you're young you don't realise how supple you can be, but just stretch, because that is, which I know is really dull. Your coaches do know what they're talking about. They actually do. When you're a teenager, you might not think they know what they're talking about, but trust me, they only want you to go fast. They don't want you to go slow. That's the only thing I say, is they want you to go fast. They will make you the fastest person. And lastly, just have the best time you can. Just have the most fun. Just really enjoy your rowing career. Because I honestly, I don't remember when I wasn't laughing at Pangbourne, the boat club. But every time I had a really good giggle every session, and I have such fond memories there, and always will. And I'm still talking to Richard now after like nearly 10 years after leaving, so it obviously works. But just keep having fun. That's all I'd stress, is just enjoy. Don't see it as this narrow-minded thing. See it as a broader picture.
Great. It's always lovely to catch up with you. And what most people don't realise is just how often we actually have been in touch with each other over the last...
I know. I know, exactly.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting. Lovely to see your kitchen as well. And hopefully we will catch up with you in Pangbourne again soon.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you very much, Georgia.
Bye.
Hopefully you've enjoyed that conversation with Georgia Francis, OP, and now sadly former senior international oarswoman. Really interesting to hear what she had to say, and my thanks once again go to her for giving up her time during this period of lockdown. And we'll be back again soon with another rowing webinar. Hopefully you'll be able to join us.